different. Yes. My case is different. Are you ready for this? Yeah. Hey. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different.
For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people of the earth. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to the light, the kings to the brightness of the rising, because your case is different, because my case is different.
I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. Oh na na na, oh na na. My case is different. If them are falling, I'll be standing. If them are crying, I'll be laughing. Well, na na na, oh na na. My case is different. Jehovah, they my side, oh. My case is different. Ladies and gentlemen, my case is different. There's a simple dance step to this beautiful song. My case is different. And it is called simply Bolito. My case is different. You know how we dance here? I'm gonna show you. My case is different. Listen, put your hands on your waist, bend down, now your right leg to the front, to the back, to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back, to the left, to the right. Ah, Bolito, 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 simply balash. Bolito, 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 simply balash. That's how we roll here. My case is different. My case is different. When men say there's a casting down for you and your household, it shall be a lifting up. For the rod of the wicked cannot exert upon the rod of the righteous. Somebody lift your hand and say, yeah! My case is different. My case is different.
Ooh, I'm a winner.
My case is different. 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 My case is different.
Here is a special dedication to everyone who has a vision and is going through things that make you think you won't get there. This song is for you. When I look into the world, I see my dreamland, but it's far from me now, and it's getting farther. Many have gone through this lane. They have stories to tell. Some are good and some are bad, but I've made up my mind that my story will be pleasant and pleasing to hear. Though it's rough, I am tough, and I
somehow. I will get there. Oh, I've made up my mind. Sitting there in the morning, right in front of the mirror, wondering if I'll ever make it, 'cause of things happening around me. And then I heard this little voice say to me, "My child, you're going to make it." And then it dawned on me that I am made for the top. So no matter what it takes, I am ready for this journey.
But it shall not come there in preaching. Why? Because your taste is different. Yes. My taste is different. Are you ready for this? Yeah. Hey. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different.
For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people of the earth. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to the light, the kings to the brightness of the rising, because your case is different. Because my case is different.
I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. I'm a winner. My case is different. I'm not a loser. My case is different. Oh na na na, oh na na. If them are falling, I'll be standing. If them are crying, I'll be laughing. Oh na na na, oh na na. Jehovah, they my side, oh. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a simple dance step to this beautiful song, and it is called simply Bolito. You know how we dance it? I'm gonna show you. Listen, put your hands on your waist, bend down, on your right leg, to the front, to the back, to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back, to the left, to the right. Ah, Bolito, 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 simply balash. Bolito, 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 simply balash. That's how we roll here.
Hello and welcome. Narrators on Purpose, good evening to you. How's your day been? I hope your day has been great. Good to have you here. My name is Mama Umeruo, and today we're having a special edition with Solomon Omeruo, and we're looking at the lies I told myself. Yes, truthfully. Have you ever lied to yourself? Truthfully, I have. I have lied to myself a couple of times before, and I remember one lie I told myself was the fact that I'm inadequate. I'm not competent enough to do certain things, and that mindset has sort of had, because I've overcome it now, limited me, from fully exploring my potentials and gifting the world with its values. So I tell you something, people, having the right mindset. Above all, of course, you should have knowledge, you should be competent, you should apply yourself. Above all, having the right mindset is the root of becoming a successful and great person in life. But who am I to say these words to you tonight? It is not my call, it is Solomon's call. And just before I bring him on today, I just want you to remember while we are here, we're narrators on purpose. And just as the name implies, we are purposeful people. We're people who understand the power of storytelling, and we're not afraid or ashamed or limited in how we tell our stories. We love the art, so we give it a lot of creativity. We tell the stories right. And we also know that in telling the story right, we're changing narratives. Those negative narratives that seem to be hanging in the air over our continent, Africa, over our country, Nigeria, over our own lives, through the stories we tell and how we tell them. So welcome today. I hope you are there. I like to see a hi or a hello from someone who is there. Hello, hi. Can I get a hello, hi from someone who is there? Is anyone there? Am I talking to myself right now? I like to know who's there with me. So just say a hello or hi to me. Good to have you on the show today. I was just saying to myself a while ago, asking myself certain questions. And one question I asked myself is this: has there been any time in my life? Well, let me ask the question to you right now. Has there been any time in your own life where you knew you were inadequate or incompetent? You had doubts over your skills because you knew that by all standards you were not qualified to earn a particular result or get to a certain place. However, you were able to attain a level of success. Have you ever been in that kind of situation before, where you knew that the odds were against you, things were working against you? However, somehow you were able to get your desired results? Have you ever been in that situation before? I have, a couple of times. And one that readily comes to mind is when I was writing IELTS some years back. I remember my son was critically ill. We're in the hospital. In fact, we're moving from one hospital to the other. We're on admission. So I didn't have the presence of mind to read. I couldn't even look at IELTS. That was far from my mind. But I remember praying and asking God, and I said to God, I needed to write IELTS that weekend. And I couldn't even look into my books. I couldn't find the strength to. I was concerned about my son getting better, and IELTS was far from my mind. And I remember sitting down that day in the hall and writing. I was actually doing the IELTS for the academic IELTS. And they often say that the reading part is one of the hardest. And I remember, because I prayed and I trusted God, I said, God, you have told me, you have assured me that you will always help me in times of need. And he did show up for me. Now, this is not a Christian gathering. This is just me expressing myself because I'm Christian in my own level of understanding, or this is because this is how I operate. So you must find your own operational system. This is my own operational system, and it does work for me. And to be honest with you, I made it. Not only did I make it, I excelled, especially in reading. I was hearing the voice of the Spirit of God telling me how to go about answering the questions, and boom, I came out with excellent grades. Now, I'm not saying you should encourage laziness or do not apply yourself or do not read. I'm just simply saying that there are situations where you are not even ready for an opportunity, but but you can get it because, one, you reminded yourself, not necessarily because you deserve to have it, but because you know that having the right mindset and attitude will take you to where you want to go to. It is not necessarily 100% of all that you are able to do. No. In fact, recently we are beginning to see studies and statistics show that it is all about having a positive attitude and the right mindset that gives us the motivation and strength to achieve our goals and then to even attract opportunities our way. So let me cut my long sermon short and invite the person who will be teaching and preaching to us today. I have Solomon Omeruo with us today to teach us, and I'm sure he will share his own life experiences and stories that we can learn from. And one thing I've assured myself today is I'm going to unlearn how to distrust myself and have a positive mindset. I choose to win, and that has been my motto for the past few months, and I'm giving it my best shot. So I don't know what your motto is, but I'm eager to hear from Solomon tonight. Can we have Solomon in the studio? He was sharing his stories with us, and I'm sure that he will learn a number of things. Hi, Solomon.
Hi, Mamuzo.
How are you
Good
doing?
evening. I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. So I'm wondering, is this going to be like a motivational session? Because I've got my jotter and my pen. By the way, if you're
Awesome.
hearing this session, you shouldn't take for granted that, oh, it's just one of those sessions we're having, in the group. We give you value here, and so I beg you not to abuse it. So get your jotter, get your pens. You need to jot down, and there are words you will hear from Solomon that you may have heard before, but it will sound different this time around. So get your pen, get your paper, or your phone, or your tab, whatever else you want to use to jot down, but you should be writing down some stuff. So Solomon, yes. So what are we expecting to hear from you tonight?
Yeah, like the topic says, it says the lies I told myself. So basically, it's something I've gone through, somewhere I've been before, a couple of things or stories you've been told in the past, some beliefs you have in your head, and it just keeps affecting the things you do, and you don't know
Mm,
that. You think this is how it is, but it's just what it is in your head.
mhm.
Most people get to see life from different perspective, and how you see life determines how it gets back to you, or the way things are applied to you. So we just want to adjust how we see things, how we go through life. It's going to affect our impact in life and the way things impact us as well. So we just want to unlearn some things and go through our head and say, these things I believe in, or these things I make my conclusions, are they really true? Or are they the things I just told myself, or the things people told me?
Awesome,
That's what
Solomon.
we're going
I'm
to be doing.
already yearning to hear more. Okay, I'll let you have the studio space. I'll be in the backstage. When you need me, just holler. I'll be right here to attend to you. So everyone, get ready. The show is just about to begin.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mamizu.
Welcome.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the topic that says the lies I told myself. I'm going to start by talking about a story. I learned about this story some months ago. So it's the story of an army camp where we had two soldiers guarding an empty chair. So it was just an empty chair in the park, and we had two soldiers guarding it day and night. And suddenly, a new commander came in and asked why these empty chairs were being guarded. They replied the last commander was doing so. So he picked up the phone, called the last commander, and asked him why this chair rather, was being guarded. He said, I don't know. The previous commander before me was doing so. And then he picked the phone and called the previous commander, and he kept on calling commanders after commanders just to inquire why these empty chairs were being guarded, until finally he was able to call the first commander who commissioned the guarding of the chair. And this commander is now old. So he picked up the phone one afternoon and called the commander and said, "Hi, I'm the new commander now, and I found out that this chair in the park is being guarded." The next thing the old man did was he shouted, it was like, "Oh, is the paint on the chair still wet?" And he was like, "No, there's no paint on the chair." And then the commander was like, "Oh, yeah, then the guards can go." And he was like, "Oh, what really happened?" And then we got to find out that the first commander actually asked people to guard the chair, the soldiers to guard the chair, because there was a wet paint there. And some kids were coming around to stain that paint. But after a long while, the commander left. People were still guarding the chairs just because the old commander asked them to. So basically, from the look of this story, this is how traditions are made. You find out that a certain thing was done or is being done at a particular time, and people just come around and they carry on in that same tradition, not knowing why it was done or what started it. So what I'm trying to say here is it comes to a point where certain traditions or certain things expire and they become hindrances. Now, for a good number of years, they've been a waste of two able soldiers just guarding an empty chair because the first commander did that. No one bothered to inquire why the first commander was guarding this chair. So most people get stuck in old traditions. They say things like, we used to do it like this. My mom said it's like this, or my dad said it's like this. Okay, let me give an example. Imagine after this COVID experience, and let's say 5 years' time from now, we were trusting God that this whole COVID thing would have gone. Now, imagine people coming into the boardroom or a board meeting, or coming into classes, or coming to social groups with a mask on their face. Wouldn't that be absurd? You walk up to someone and you say hi, you want to have a meeting with a person in 5 years' time, hopefully after COVID, and the person is still wearing a mask. It's going to look very absurd. This is what tradition is. Tradition is basically when people stick to an old system, irrespective of what the situation is now. And that's what we're talking about here, how belief systems affect life. Now, if you notice the story, for the last good number of years, two soldiers have been guarding this chair, irrespective of the chair being empty and the paint dried. Now, belief is an acceptance of the trueness of something, especially without proof. So you're told something and you just say, okay, this is what it is. I was told this is this, and which sometimes can be good, but sometimes some of those beliefs, if not checked properly, they become a hindrance. So building a belief system just on what you were told without really checking the convictions behind it, sometimes they may pose as obstacles in our lives. Now, naturally, when we grow up, there's a tendency to learn new things in life as we grow up. Now, as you grow, a lot of ideas start coming into your head, which changes the original system. As a kid or as a child, or just born with this fearlessness, you look at a kid out there, he's ready to go touch fire, he's ready to go try new things. But as we start growing old, things start changing. We're told some things are bad, some things are scary. Our environment starts shaping us. Our background, the relationship we have, they start changing everything around us. And this starts to influence our lives. Sometimes it becomes impossible to control the outcome of our lives. Some people may hit opportunities, some people may miss opportunities, some people start living based on these relationships. Someone said, if you have four friends, you're basically going to be like the fifth of what the four friends are like. That's your relationship affecting your life. Most people are where they are right now because of the kind of background they have, the environment they grow in. So this is basically what it is. The things we absorb in our head as we grow, they start changing our mindsets. They start affecting who we are. So what we want to do today is we want to go through those things we've been told, those things we've stored in our heads. We want to see how they affect our lives. Are they doing us good, or are they doing us bad? Like I said, most people just come up with a tradition. Like I've talked to a lot of people, and the only reason they have is my mom said this. And the question I ask them is, yeah, it's good your mom said this, or it's good your dad said this or that. But have you confirmed if that thing they told you is true? Now I find out that a lot of people now struggle with these limitations because they don't really understand if it's true. Now, this is what I tell people: the truth you hold may be deemed limitations when brought to light. There was a time they go like, okay, women are just allowed to be in the kitchen, and that became the norm. But as things changes, as time goes on, you find out that that's not what it is. Women can do much more than that. There's a time they say men are not supposed to be emotional, but right now we understand that emotions are part of our lives. So these are truths which a lot of us hold for a long time. But now when you bring them under light, when you investigate properly, you find out that they're not really what it seems. It was just because of the knowledge people had. Now, I'm going to give you a practical example of myself. Now, there was a time where I never liked sales for one reason. I used to see sales as someone begging another person to buy something. So I'm like, okay, I have this phone, and if I want to be a salesman, I have to be begging the other person to sell it. That was my definition of sales. So for a long time, I just hated anything sales. I'm like, no, I can't be a salesman. I don't like being a salesman. But when I started growing up in my career, I found out that sales was one of my strengths, one of the biggest strengths I had. So running away from sales was just basically hindering my career growth because I got job opportunities to be a salesman. And literally, I was like, no, I don't want to be a salesman because I have to beg people. But at a point in time, I started taking trainings and I found out that you don't have to beg people to buy. You just have to show them they need those things. So most people struggle with self-imposed beliefs. Someone goes like, I'm never going to be good at mathematics. No, there's nothing like that. If you spend time practicing, you're definitely going to be good at mathematics someday. Even if you're not the best, but at least you're going to be very good at it. It's just all about what we tell ourselves. Most people go like, okay, I'm an introvert. Introverts can't be leaders. Leadership is just for extroverts, and they just work with that mindset. So once they're given a leadership role or they get a chance to do something good, they have this thought at the back of their head that says, I'm not a leader. And which I found out that most times is not true. About 90% of the time, it's not true. It's just what people tell themselves. Now, this is how the brain works. Now, you say something to yourself, and the brain absorbs it and say, okay, you're saying this. And they start working on it. And suddenly that becomes your lifestyle. That becomes what you live based on. You walk up to the stage and you're asked to do something. And at the back of your head, you say, I can't do it. It definitely happens like that. You start struggling automatically with those things. So, what we want to be doing tonight is to reassess our beliefs, to ask yourself questions like, why do I believe in this thing? Is this thing actually true? Now, I'm going to be a bit generic here. I'm going to be touching both academic aspects, business aspects, or career path, a lot of those aspects, because this is like a common problem that's right out there with students, businessmen, and career people. It's just that people get to convince themselves that they can't do things. So I'm just going to stop for like a few seconds, and I want you to ask yourself, what's that thing you've told yourself you can't do? Is it like you go like some people go like, I can't. Okay, I've talked to a lady. Let me use this example. I've talked to a lady, and she goes like, I'm just never going to have someone that will love me. Of course, that's like 100% not true. Everyone can be loved, but now this is how it works. She tells herself, there's no one that's going to love me. And now when she meets people, she starts reacting in the sense that they're not going to love her. And there's what is called the law of attraction. Whatever you bring to the table, it gets met by the other person. Most people just they try and say, oh no, this is just a motivational speech or anything. No, there's certain principles that govern life. People go like, I have a friend, he always says, let me remember the exact word. He goes like, this life is very easy. And funny enough, everything he does just comes so easy to him. And I'm like, yo, how do you do this? And he goes like, no, I just have it at the back of my head that things are easy. So everywhere I find myself, I see the bright side of everything. As compared to others that go like, life is difficult. Okay, let's just do this practical experiment for a while. Just think for a while and ask yourself, at what point Have you ever thought things are difficult or things are hard? Most of the time, when you think so, it's always like that. Most of the time, I used to tell someone, I say, if I walk up to you and I say you look like a monkey, once you go home, even if it's not that day, after some days, you go look at the mirror and like, oh, do I really look like a monkey? Even if you know you're not a monkey or you don't look like a monkey. That's the power of our thoughts, power of words, power of the things you tell yourself. So once you tell yourself, no, you can't do this, it start running in your subconscious and start ruling your thoughts, it start ruling your actions, and it start affecting everything you do. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to just take a step back and understand and say, what are the things I've told myself I can't do? Like for me, I actually told myself I can't be a salesman. But after a while, I was like, no. Why I think I can't be a salesman is because I think I'll have to be begging people to buy something. What if I don't have to beg them? I just have to make them see why they need these things. And that changed everything for me. I started learning that. I was like, okay, I have to understand that I'm not begging them. I just have to show them. And that became a very big turning point for me in my career. I took up a sales job and I started growing. And that changed everything. So we're going to be looking through ourselves and say, what have you told yourself? Do you believe you can't be loved? Or do you believe you can't be in a leadership role? Or do you believe because you're an introvert, you can't be a voice to people? No, you can be whatever you want to be as long as you put your mind to it. The truth is this: the mind is limitless, it can achieve whatever it aims at. So if you start thinking and say, okay, this is what I want to achieve, once you put your heart to it, you start building yourself towards that path. Now, this is how we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to do something. I want you to make a list of the things you think you can't do, or the things you think are your truth, the things you've told yourself you can't do. Now, make a list of them and ask yourself questions like, why do you think you can't do them? At what point in your life do you come to the conclusion that no, I can't do them? Because what I noticed is at some part of our lives, now, one thing I tell people is in life, failure is inevitable. There's just no way you could go through success or get to success without failure. For everyone I've known or read about that succeeded, there have been countless numbers of failures. Now, I actually heard that for basketballers, they do a lot of wrong throws. They miss a lot of throwing into the net just to achieve one. But no one ever remembers them for the number of goals they lost or the number of targets they lost. They only remembered for the ones that went through. So this is something that I always tell people in life. To get to success, you have to go through failure. But the problem is at that point where people fail, they make that sport their conclusion. They go like, okay, I've made a mistake in this. I was once embarrassed here. And then they go like, I can never do that, which is wrong. That's you creating a whole new conviction for yourself, which is not who you are. So we're going to make that list and ask ourselves, at what point did you make this conclusion? Is it at the lowest part of your life or at some lows where you think you can't do them? And then also ask yourself, are these things true? The things you believe you're not. For most people, it's what they were told. Probably your parents told you you couldn't achieve it. Your teacher said you couldn't be great in life. And that's stuck in your head. No, we'll have to unlearn those things, get them out of our head and say, no, this is what she thinks. This is not really what it should be. So we want to go through these and say yes. Because the truth is, what you believe in life, I've seen people that say life is difficult. And everything they encounter, people go like, I'm not lucky, I'm just unlucky. And you see, like times after time, there's just an unlucky incident. And it goes like, yeah, it's just for me. No, it's not for you. It's because you've told yourself that. So you start seeing those things come through in your life. Now, I want to clarify something. There's a thin line between people just making fantasies in their head and saying, Oh, okay, you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I'm going to be great, I'm successful, and they just go back to sleep and they don't put in the work. No, then that becomes useless. What I'm trying to say here is you tell yourself things from a positive, logical part of it. That's okay, I'm going to be successful, and then you put in the work. I'm going to say that again. Now, there's a thin line between this. Now, a lot of speakers or motivational speakers, they talk about positive affirmations. We need to understand what positive affirmation is. It's not just telling yourself a lie. For example, I wake up in the morning, I go like, I'm a millionaire, and then I go back to sleep. Going back to sleep doesn't make me a millionaire. It doesn't work that way. It's you conditioning your mind for success and putting in the work. So when we talk about telling yourself the truth, when we talk about adjusting your belief system for a positive life, it's you saying positive things, having the positive mindset, and as well putting in the work. Not just saying words like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to pass the exam, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that," without putting in the work. If you know there's a work required to achieve something, you positively affirm it and then go ahead and put in the work. So, like I said earlier, what we want to do is to understand the things we say we can't do and get to know why we don't think we can do them. Because the mind can achieve whatever it wants as long as we put in work for that. So make a list of it and then go through it. Ask yourself questions. Why did I think this can be? Why do I think this cannot be? Why do I think this is who I am? And what makes this my truth? Once again, I'll say this: the truth it hold may be deemed limitations when brought to light. So the advice I'm giving this evening is bringing forth those truth, those things you say you can do or you can't do, and then go through logic and say, yeah, this is what it is, and this is why I said this, and okay, the conditions which or under which I said this may not be the same conditions which I am in now. So remember that your belief system always affects you. Like I like what Mamuzo said about the exam she took and all of that. So understanding your belief system is very important. For her, one of her belief system was faith in God. So she understood that okay, I'm doing my best to get this, and I'm trying to write this exam, to excel in this exam, and I'm also trusting God. So the fact that she has a belief system where she trusts God affected the whole outcome of that exam. Now, for you, it may not be believing in God or it may be believing in something else. But the truth is, you want to build a right belief system, a correct belief system to get a positive outcome. Yeah. So now I'll hold on a minute and see if you have any questions and I'll answer them. Musa, just let me know if there's any question from the studio. I don't want to take much of the time, so yeah, let me give chance for some
Solomon,
questions.
wow, that was quite very insightful and inspiring. I must say that you did not just only motivate me, you inspired me because I mean I hope we know there's a difference between motivation and then inspiration. You gave us a dose of both, and I'm grateful. I have a question.
Sure.
Because you said some very profound things, and I'm just thinking to myself, and this is particularly for women who are going through some psychological or emotional downtime because they are in abusive relationships where they are constantly reminded of their incapabilities, of their incompetences, and every day they are spoken to, with words that could naturally drain their spirits. So my question is,
Yeah.
how can someone survive in a filthy environment, or an environment that challenges your belief system? Exactly. I hope that's clear enough. How can someone
Yeah,
survive or thrive in an environment that is constantly challenging your belief system?
yeah. That's a very important question because I think that's one of the biggest struggle most people go through, the
True.
environment. First of all, it depends, like I said, on what you're going through and the condition. My number one advice would be changing the environment, which sometimes may be challenging. Yeah, like you said, if it's in a marriage, yeah. So if it's somewhere you can change the system, then that's very good. But if it's in a setting where you just can't pack and leave, I'll say you build a community of positive people. Yeah. So you could just probably, this is how I tell people. I wake up each day with a dose of positivity because I know there's so much negativity out there.
Out
So
there.
with books, with the Bible, with messages, I just feel in my head, you know, if there's nothing there, there's going to be space for the wrong thing to come in.
Yeah.
But if I've loaded myself so much with so much positivity, whatever you bring in, there's enough positivity inside of me to match it. So for someone in that relationship or in that environment, I'll advise them to build a positive community, maybe through friends, maybe through church gatherings, maybe just reading books or learning from people. So you load yourself with the truth. Because I think everything in the world today revolves around information. For example, if someone comes to me now and say rain doesn't come from up, it comes from down, I wouldn't say yes to that because over a while I've been taught that it rains from up. Or if I've never experienced rain and someone comes and say rain comes from down, I may easily accept that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So if you get enough of positive information, once you're met with a negative vibe, there's something there to counter. I say, no, this is not who I am. Like the example I gave, someone comes to me and say, you look like a monkey. I don't have to go to the mirror and go look if I really look like a monkey. Because I've looked myself first in the mirror and I'm like, no, I don't look like a monkey. So it's all about knowing yourself, and which is why the show I did on this on Narrator Purpose, I talked about self-discovery, which I think is the basis for any growth in life. You understanding yourself, saying, this is who I am, this is what I represent, this is what I want to accept in my life. So once you have that core value laid down, whatever comes, whatever wrong thing comes, cannot sink.
Awesome. And I also feel like, I mean, I always use this very funny sentence. I always say, challenge your challenges. In other words, I take my challenges and I work ways or strategies to challenge it. So like a
Yeah,
contention, and I'm fighting. Yes, I say to my contention, you know what, we're gonna see who's gonna win the fight, and as I come
yeah,
all ready, all out, ready to take down my giants, my contentions, my negative mentality, because sometimes it's there when you hear, like you said, when you hear from people, feeding your mind with all kinds of, naughty and dirty things. You have to sometimes sieve, do it like a mind sieving. So sieve your thoughts and then let the ones that will build you for a greater future state. And I also want to add that from my own experience, what has been keeping me going and focused is the picture I create for my future. So when I look at
true.
myself, I try not to see me where I am right now. I try to
Hmm.
see me as the person that I'm going to become. And so that's
Yeah,
what mustered some courage and enthusiasm inside of me to want to keep going, keep pushing against the odds, just keep my eyes on the mark. Solomon, you
yeah.
have reiterated so many things tonight. I'm grateful that you have shared from your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you so much. And I hope that NLP members are learning. We shouldn't let this great content go to waste. Please engage with it, share it. Yes, it's worth sharing. Share with your friends, your family members, and take the words and use them to build your own future. You deserve to be someone great, so don't sleep on it. Take those words, make them lessons, monumental lessons that would build you up for a greater future. Thank you again, Solomon. We appreciate you coming today on Narrators on Purpose. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Is that a promise?
Probably next week or the week after.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Thank you for a great session tonight. Good night, everyone. Keep being great because you deserve to be great. Good night. Bye bye.
Good night, Mr. Thank you.